Welcome to the Real Women, Real Business podcast, where we believe you don't have to choose between doing what you love and building something truly successful. Each episode, we cut through the noise to show you exactly where your energy should go, how to eliminate what's keeping you stuck, and most importantly, how to tell the difference between what's actually making you money and what's just keeping you busy. Around here, we're all about helping you to work smarter, build stronger, and dream bigger. You've already built something amazing, but if it feels like you're stuck in a cycle of back to back calls, half finished launches, and late nights just trying to catch up, you're not alone. Most women start their businesses with passion and drive, but somewhere along the way, they start settling for good enough. They want more, but worry it will cost them too much. And let's be honest, we spend so much time thinking about how to help others, we start feeling guilty for wanting to build real wealth or prioritize our own goals. That's exactly why I created the Real Women, Real Business Mastery Program to help ambitious women like you stop settling for just enough and start building a business that's truly aligned, where passion, profits, and progress work together, because making more doesn't mean sacrificing more. It means building smarter with the right support and the right strategies. If you're ready for sustainable success in a business you actually love running, book your free coaching assessment at aboutShaunaLynn.com/coachmate. Let's explore what's possible together. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Real Women, Real Business podcast. I am your host, Shauna Lynn Simon. And today we're talking about visibility and about some of the assumptions that we make around this and some of the simple tweaks that we can make in both our mindset as well as our actions that can make a really big difference. So first, let me start by telling you a little story. I was driving to my run the other morning. For those of you who have been here for a little while, you know that I'm one of those crazy runners who runs at around 5 o'clock in the morning. And I actually oversee a women's running group because, of course, at 5 a.m., it's dark out and we, safety in numbers and all. And so we meet at different locations around the city, depending on what day of the week it is. So it's around 5 o'clock in the morning, and I am driving to the run meetup spot. Completely dark out, of course. And as I'm sitting at a light, I watch this cyclist come just flying off the sidewalk and straight through the intersection. Now, technically, it's a green light for him, but he came off the sidewalk. So he kind of came out of nowhere. He's got no reflectors on. He's got dark clothing. There's nothing that lights up. Like, he doesn't have like a headlamp or a bike light or anything like that. And a car almost hit him. Like, it was really close. I legit thought I was going to end up being late for my run because I'm going to witness the cyclist getting hit by a car. Fortunately, the car did see him at the very last second and stopped. But the wild part is that I think the cyclist thought he was going to be totally fine crossing this intersection. And again, I've talked about my running group. And one of the things that we do with the running group is we have some very strict things that we have enforced in order to be a part of the running group. And so I'm looking at this cyclist and I'm thinking, wow, like, I would not even allow someone on our running group who is dark clothing, no lights, nothing. Like, we've got our LED vests that light up. We've got flashing lights. We've got even our dogs are lit up like Christmas trees. And in fact, it's absolutely mandatory for any women or dogs who join our group that they need to be able to be seen and be able to see their feet in front of them as well. We run on trails sometimes, we run in different areas. But even with all of that, we still don't assume that anyone sees us. Because again, let's be real, this is 5 o'clock in the morning. If you've ever driven anywhere at 5 o'clock in the morning, and especially if you're not a morning person, it's easy to go onto autopilot, to not really pay close attention to your surroundings. And the last thing you're expecting is for a bunch of people just to run in front of your car. And so we slow down at intersections. We make eye contact with the drivers. We double check before crossing the street at all times, because it doesn't matter if we technically have the right of way. If someone doesn't see you, you're still at risk. And let's face it, if I'm going up against a car, the car is going to likely win that battle. So I don't make any assumptions. Now, that's not to say that I don't sometimes cross at a non-intersection place. Please don't send the cops out on me, but we are very, very careful about it. And in fact, we don't even cut it close. If there is a car that's even in the distance, we do not cross the road because we don't want to startle them. Even though we're well lit up, we don't want to startle them. So going back to this cyclist, I'm watching this cyclist. I'm thinking like, this guy thinks he's visible. Again, he's in dark clothing, no reflectors, no lights, but he assumed that the driver was going to see him and he really didn't give it a second thought. That is exactly what's happening in business, in your business, even in my business. I see it all the time. Just because you're there, you're putting things out there doesn't mean that people are actually seeing you. And more importantly, it's not enough to assume that people should see you. We've got to make it really, really easy for that, because I see this all the time. People think, I posted about what it is that I do. It's on my website. I talked about it last month. So in their mind, they're visible. But the reality is that people are busy, they're distracted, they're scrolling quickly through things, and they're not necessarily sitting there trying to figure out what you do. And I think I've mentioned this before. We've got the attention span of, a squirrel, really. Like we get very distracted very easily. And so we can't assume that someone is going to take the time to read through our entire post to the end where we actually talk about what it is that we're doing. Or have you ever listened to a radio commercial? I know not everyone listens to the radio anymore. I still do. And I hear these commercials sometimes where I have no idea what they're trying to sell or who the company is. The last thing they mention maybe is the company name. And by that time, I've kind of lost interest in everything. And so this is something that's pretty common that's happening in business. Have you ever received an email from a vendor of yours, a connection of yours somehow, someone who you're already connected with, that maybe you've already got a decent relationship with, and they're telling you about a new service or offering that they have? And in the moment you're thinking to yourself, wow, that sounds great. That will definitely come in handy for me someday. But you weren't ready to buy whatever it was they were trying to sell you, or that offer, or that new service, whatever it was that they came out with at that time. Well, now fast forward a few months, and imagine that they've never mentioned it again to you. You got that one email, you're like, wow, that's a cool idea. I'll definitely remember this. It's about how I feel when I put something in that super safe place where I'm like, this is gonna be a great place. I'll remember exactly where I put this. And of course, 3 days later, I'm searching high and low for it. This is the same idea. You see that email, you're like, this is a great idea, but then they never mention it again. So now you find yourself in need of what they offered. And you think to yourself, I remember that someone said that they were doing that. Who was that? Or worse yet, you don't even remember that you ever got that email. And you think like, I don't even know anyone who offers this. It doesn't even register as a memory. Here's the thing, you can be doing incredible work and still be almost invisible. It's not necessarily that you're not doing work in marketing and you're getting your word out there, but you're not obvious. We need to make things as obvious as possible. Don't make other people do the work to figure things out. Listen, I come from a staging background. For anyone who knows me, if you've been here for a while, my entrepreneurial journey started with being a stager. I had a whole corporate career and everything else before then. I'm not going to get into that because what really matters here is the staging element of things. So in staging, we stage empty rooms, especially. Like there's different forms of staging. I'm not going to get into all that today. That's not what this episode is about. But one of the things that we do is we stage vacant rooms. This means that it's a completely empty room. And we then go in and define that space by bringing in the furniture and the artwork and the accessories. And we create a whole experience of that space. One of the reasons that we do that is that in order to sell a house, we need to try to make it as easy as possible for the buyers to be able to envision themselves in the space. And not only are we showing the full lifestyle and, here's where you would put your sofa, but we're taking away the work that it takes to try to figure that out yourself. So when someone walks into a blank space, and there's actually a statistic out there that like only 10% of people can actually visualize a space beyond what they see. So 90% of the people coming into that room can't see what's in front of them. So 90% of the people walking into that room now need to put work in and effort in order to figure out, first, what is this room supposed to be? What type of room is this? What type of furniture am I going to put in here? Then, where should I put that furniture? Will my furniture actually fit? Will it look good? Is this enough space for me? Is it too much space for me? They're doing a lot of the heavy lifting that we could have done simply by staging that space. The same thing applies when it comes to your clients and your message, because we want to make it so that the people who are listening and seeing our messages don't have to do that much work. What happens is that we end up hiding a little bit, not meaning to, but we hide behind the messaging and the posts and the, our website and the things that we're putting out there. So sometimes we're hiding behind messaging that sounds nice, but doesn't actually say anything. And trust me, I've caught myself on this before. And this is, I am a big advocate of using AI as a tool, but sometimes, and this is not entirely AI's fault, it's our fault in how we prompt it, it's our fault in how we educate AI on who we are and what we do, but sometimes they come up with these super vague, generic type of things that could work for anyone else in our field. And those are not really going to resonate with someone. So we get that messaging that sounds really flowery, and we're talking about, the boutique style of our business and the curated things that we're doing and the quality customer service and how we put people at the forefront of the things that we're doing. That all sounds really nice, but it's not tangible for anyone. Another way that we hide behind our messaging is trying to be clever instead of clear. And that cleverness doesn't always land. I hosted a boot camp earlier this year. I've got another one coming out in the fall to help home stagers to plan their exit strategy and start preparing their businesses for sale long before they actually have to sell it. And given that it's specifically for home staging businesses, I thought it would be super clever to call this boot camp. It's an 8-week boot camp. I thought it'd be super clever to call it Stage Your Business for Sale. Because, play on words, right? Because we have to set up our business. And trust me, I use a ton of analogies throughout this boot camp that really relate to what we do for our clients who are selling their houses and relate that to how we would sell our business. Because let's face it, we're still selling a pretty big asset. So there's a lot of correlations to it. And those analogies land well within the training. But if I just tried to title something, Stage Your Business to Sell, that's not really going to land it's not going to hit as hard as I want it to, because again, it's clever. It makes sense to me, but it's not super clear. You want to know what I call the boot camp instead? Sell Your Staging Business Boot Camp. It doesn't get much more clear than that. As a side note, if you are interested in that boot camp, please feel free to connect with me at Shauna Lynn Simon on Instagram, and I will send you the details about when we have our next one coming up. But this is not intended to be a sales pitch. This is simply telling you about the fact that I was trying to be clever and realized, thankfully, before I launched the course, that this was not going to land with most people, and I need to make it as clear as possible what it is that I'm selling. Another way that we hide behind our messaging and the things that we're putting out there is actually by jumping onto those trends that have nothing to do with our business. I have spoken about this previously on podcast episodes about, virility. We want to go viral with our posts. We want to go viral with our video. And I've had several guests on here who have talked about how viral did not bring in more business for them. Unless that viral post is super related to what it is that you're doing and it's going to actually land with your target audience, don't waste your time jumping onto a trend. The other thing that we often do, and I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, is we assume people will connect the dots. This is making things work, making people work for us. That is not the intention of what we should be trying to do here. We want to try to make this as clear as we possibly can. So we don't want to make them have to connect the dots and put things together, because they can make up new narratives. They can change the story. We want the story to be authentic. We want it to be real. We want it to really land with people. So it's like you're technically showing up. You're showing up online, whether it's on your website, on your social media, in your emails, whatever it is, you are showing up, but you're dressed in all black at 5 a.m. with no lights, okay? And you're hoping that someone will notice you. So please hear me when I say this. This is not to say that you need to be posting on socials multiple times every single day, but I'm going to share with you some ways that we can reframe visibility. And we're going to do that right after this short break. We'll be right back after this quick message.
Kaivari helps interior designers at every stage build a strong strategic support network, giving them ongoing clarity, trusted guidance, and access to the right people at the right time. Unlike directories or online groups, Kaivari uses a personalized matching process, combining detailed data, a deep dive clarity call, and a thoughtful review process to connect members with vetted coaches, trusted service providers, and aligned peer communities. With exclusive monthly education, targeted small group support, and annual rematching sessions, Kaivari becomes your affordable, evergreen layer of strategic guidance until you're ready to confidently hire deeper support. If you're ready to stop guessing and start making smarter business decisions with the right network behind you, visit kaivari.com to learn more. That's KAIVARI.com, and use promo code COACHFRIEND, that's KOACHFRIEND, to save.
And welcome back to the Real Women, Real Business podcast. All right, welcome back to the Real Women, Real Business podcast, where we are talking about visibility, but not necessarily in the way that most people think. I'm not going to give you the specific tips for here's what to post on social media to make sure that your messaging lands. What we're talking about, though, is the fact that if you are cloaked in black at 5 a.m. in the dark, and you're not wearing any reflective gear, no one's going to see you. Now, I don't necessarily say that you need to be like jumping up and down, waving your hands, screaming at the top of your lungs, but you need to make sure that when you provide your message, that it lands, that people are going to understand exactly what it is that you're saying. And we need to make sure that we're not just saying something once and then hoping for the best. Visibility isn't necessarily about doing more. So I'm not going to tell you to post on social media every day or multiple times every day. It's not about doing more. It's not about being on more platforms or posting more content. It's about being clear enough, and this is the key, consistent enough that people don't have to work to understand you. Visibility is about being obvious. If you start feeling like you are repeating yourself, you are doing the right work. If you want to check this for yourself, I want you to ask, if someone landed on my page today, my website, my Instagram, whatever, would they know what I do in 3 seconds? Not 30 seconds, not after scrolling, but in 3 seconds. Would they actually know what it is that you do? And if the answer is no, that's not a visibility problem. It's a clarity problem. Okay, you see where we're going with this? Here's the other piece of this, is the repetition. We say something once and we feel like we've said it 100 times, but for the person on the other side, they might not have heard it at all. If you have children, if you have a spouse or a partner or a significant other of some sort, how many times have they actually heard and acted on something that you said the first time you said it? Now, this is someone who's close to you, in very close proximity, who theoretically should be listening to you on a regular basis, who might actually care about what it is that you're saying because, you know, you've got an already built connection. And how many times do you have to repeat yourself with them? So if you have said something online, that person might not even remember that they've heard it that one time, or they heard it once and then they forgot it, or they just weren't ready to hear it. And this is a big thing sometimes. We're not always getting people at the right time. So we can't be afraid to repeat ourselves, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you have the right of way, like you're a cyclist with the right of way or a pedestrian with the right of way. It doesn't matter if your work is incredible. If people don't see you, they can't choose you. So I want you to start repeating yourself often, like a broken record. This is also one of the reasons why we talk about niching down. And yes, it's niche, not niche. But for those of you who pronounce it niche, that's what I'm talking about, is that is your specialty. It doesn't mean that you can't offer other services, but those other services can be more of a conversation, more of something in your back pocket. But if someone lands on your website and you've got 16 different services listed for them, chances are they're not going to buy. This isn't like going to the Bath and Body Works site. You know you're going to buy some sort of skincare type products or a candle or lotion or hand soap or whatever. Like, again, all kind of related things. And they're listing all the products for you because you went to that site. They've got enough brand recognition that you went there looking for certain things. But I will tell you, if I go onto the Bath and Body Works site, I am not thinking, for example, that they might be selling clothing. I don't actually even know if they do sell clothing. But the point is that that's not what I'm expecting Bath and Body Works to sell. So if they decide they're suddenly going to have a clothing line here, I'm going to need to hear that from them multiple times before it's going to resonate. Now, for you and your services, when it comes to any service provider, Less really is more. Focus on what are your core services. Ideally, that is one, maybe two. If you absolutely have to, it's 3 services. Again, it doesn't mean you don't offer the other things. And those other things can be, I don't want to say buried on the website, but tucked into the website within other context of things. They can be something you can have in your back pocket as a conversation. They can be a part of another service, like an add-on. If you're already looking at this service, you may wish to add on this, this, and this, but hey, let's have a conversation about it, or whatever your sales process is. But if you are trying to sell 12 different things, how many times do you need to post for each one of those things to resonate? We need to make sure that we are saying the same thing like a broken record over and over and over again. We should find different ways to say it. Yes, absolutely. But at the end of the day, we should be promoting the same thing multiple times over. So for me, the main thing that I'm promoting, of course, is my business coaching. And the core program is my 12-month Real Women, Real Business Mastery Program. Now, that's not to say that I don't offer one-on-one coaching, but I can only take on a couple of one-on-one clients at a time. And to be honest, I'm usually on a wait list. Every once in a while, if you're on my email list, you might see me put out an email saying like, hey, I've got a one-on-one spot opening. That will normally get filled up pretty quickly, which is one of the reasons why I don't tend to do a ton of advertising for it. Now, I also have some smaller offerings. Like I've got my money momentum call, for example, or my profits, passion, and progress alignment sessions. Those are a couple of things that I will send out specific emails or do specific posts just for those items, and I'll maybe run them for like a week or so. And those are great little one-off ways for people to get to know me if they think maybe the 12-month program is a little bit too big. But most of the time, I am talking about the expertise that I bring, my authority, my background, and in addition to that, the value of what it is that I offer, the benefits you're going to get out of it. And it's usually all connecting back to my 12-month Real Women, Real Business Mastery Program. And I'm not afraid to say it multiple times. I feel like you can never say it quite enough. So I've got an interior design business as well. And my interior design business, honestly, I can do pretty much anything anyone wants me to do. But there are a few specific areas that I focus on. One of them is accessibility. That's probably one of the biggest things is accessibility and space planning. So that's the main highlight. I'm actually working on making some changes to the website to make it even more clear, because even I find myself looking at things and saying, no, is this as clear as it can be? No, I can definitely smooth this out. So those are the main things that I'm focused on. Every once in a while, though, I'm going to have a post about investment properties and the value of that, or full renovation planning and the value of that. But for the most part, I am talking about the conceptual planning, the space planning, and a lot of it is aligned around accessibility. Now, that works because I am saying the same message over and over again, just finding different ways to say it. So I want you to take a look at your messaging. Are you trying to do too many things? Are you trying to be too clever? Are you trying to be too trendy? I don't want you to be boring online, of course, because we want people to notice us. But, and I want you to think of this not even just online as well. I also want to be clear about that. This means in your conversations with people, the way that you're presenting yourself. If you're going to networking groups, if you show up at networking and each week, let's say you're a part of a networking group that meets every week. And if you're meeting every week and every week you're talking about a different service that you offer, people are not necessarily going to remember all the things that you do. But if each week you're talking about the same service that you offer and reframing it. So one week, let's say that you're a home stager. Let's face it, I've got a ton of background in home staging, so it's always an easy one for me to connect to because I spent so much time marketing my own home staging business for 15 years. So let's say we're talking about a staging business and we're talking about the fact that we do occupied staging. This means people are living in the house. So one week I might talk about just the value of a consultation. The next week I might talk about how I work with homeowners' items. Another week I might talk about how it can be uncomfortable living in a staged house and how I make that easier for my clients. Again, it's all the same services, but I'm highlighting different ways of value, different ways that it connects. I might even highlight different clients who really benefit from the services that we offer. I mean, I'll service any client, of course, but I actually really specialize in older clients who are looking to downsize. That's kind of my specialty. I really connect well with them, or something along those lines, right? Whatever it is that you specialize in, I want you to talk about the same service, but just put some different spins on it each week. So it doesn't have to sound stale. It doesn't have to sound like the exact same elevator pitch every single week at your networking event. And think about translating that online as well as offline, those conversations that you are having. And I know I've met people at times at different networking events, and they've come up with this really clever phrasing about what it is that they do. And we always talk about, be benefits driven. I'm a big advocate of this. I talk about this constantly. I don't want you to just talk about your features. I want you to talk about the benefits and how it supports people. But the problem is if you just talk about the benefits, it's hard for me to understand what it is that you do. I also volunteer at my small business center. And one of the things that I do is I sit on a committee that provides grants through the government to the different entrepreneurs, but they have to meet certain qualifications for that. So it's about an 8-minute pitch normally. So I sat on this committee a couple months ago, and I believe there were about 8 different people pitching. It might have been more. In any case, one of the women who pitched gave her a whole pitch, 8 minutes of a pitch. And when she was done, you want to know what my first question for her was? So what do you do? I did not understand what her company actually did. And that is a problem. So I want you to look at things objectively. And in fact, go to someone maybe who doesn't really know what you do, or talk to people who do know what you do and ask them to imagine that they've never met you before. Would they understand what it is that you do? Because visibility, that we think of visibility, we're like, I'm just going to post all the time. That doesn't make you visible. If your messaging isn't landing, if you're not saying things multiple times, if you're trying too hard to be clever, you're not going to get the business. Because again, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you have the right of way, doesn't matter if your work is incredible. If people don't see you, they can't choose you. So instead of asking yourself, how can I show up more? Try asking, how can I make it so that I'm easier to see? And this will help you to reframe visibility in a way that's actually going to help you to connect with your audience. All right, I hope that you have found this helpful today. I hope that you are looking at visibility through a whole different lens today. And if what we're saying here is resonating with you today, I hope that you will continue to tune in each week. We drop new episodes every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really, really, really does help the algorithm. And I am truly grateful for every one of the reviews that I get. And also, if what I'm saying here is really helping you today, the best way that you can show your support, not only for myself, but for your fellow women entrepreneurs, is to share this episode with someone that you know can really benefit from this message. Thank you so much for tuning in today and for allowing us to be a part of your entrepreneurial journey. Until next time, keep thriving.